Hey Artnerds, today we have another Dollar Tree review and we're doing another three-way review or three-way comparison. We have two products by Inc and one by Marks. Today we're taking a look at the Inc Gel 600, the Marks Ultrafine pens, and the Inc Cr2 Roller. These products were purchased from Dollar Tree at $1 a piece. Some were purchased from the Harahan Dollar Tree. Some were purchased from the Luling Dollar Tree. All of them come blister packed, plastic on the front, and cardboard on the back. The Inc Gel 600 comes in a pack of 3. They're fairly reminiscent of high-tech C or Muji gel pens. They are gel rollers with a 0.7 tip, and they promise twice the ink. They promise to be quick drying, smooth writing, and double the gel ink, and this is the black ink pens. So we get 3 gel pens. They are brand name, or I'm sorry, 2 times the ink compared to other brand gel ink pens. So I wonder what other brands they're comparing themselves to. They promise to deliver performance, style, and value. They were imported by Greenbrier International, which is kind of like the parent company of Dollar Tree, and they were made in China. Inc is a registered trademark of Peachtree Playthings. Then we have the Marks Ultrafine, and these are ultrafine, so they're 0.5. Superior quality tip, and I believe this is a like a felt tip pen, which is what I was kind of looking for. I wanted some variety in the pens that I picked up, and Dollar Tree doesn't really have a lot of variety in the pens that they sell. It's mostly gel pens or ballpoint pens. So these are ultrafine pens. They have specially formatted ink. They deliver precise and vivid lines. They have a superior quality tip. They also make the TC Ball, which are ballpoint pens, the Mega Bold, which I didn't see, which is a 1.0 millimeter stick pen, and the Gel Clicks, which are retractable gel pens. They are imported by Greenbrier International, and they are made in China as well. Then we have the Inc Cr2 rollers. So these are larger rollerball pens. They also have a 0.7 millimeter tip. Basically what you're going to see at Dollar Tree for the most part is going to be 5 and 7, with 7 being the majority, as well as really cheap ballpoint pens. So they promise precise writing as well as a comfort grip, and you get 2 instead of 3 with this pack. And let's see, controlled ink flow system, long-lasting ink supply, soft comfort grip, performance, style, and value. Again, these are imported by Greenbrier International, and they were made in China. I also have the black ones in blue, but for the purposes of today's review, we're just going to take a look at the 3 black pens that I purchased from Dollar Tree. I think my #1 problem with buying things from Dollar Tree is how much waste they tend to generate and how little reusable packaging we get when we buy Dollar Tree products. So we're going to put these pens through a few different tests today. We're going to try inking over something drawn with blue lead. We're going to try erasing. We're going to try water fastness, and we're going to try alcohol marker proof. We're also going to take a look at the pen bodies themselves and talk about ease of use and comfort. So let's start with the Inc 0.7 millimeter gel pen. It is actually very similar. Oh, I'm off camera, sorry about that. Very similar to Muji gel pens or to high-tech C pen. So it's just a stick ballpoint pen with a bit of cushion in the tip. Fairly lightweight, has a little bit of a knobbled grip on the end, caps fairly easily. They're not stylish. Posts on the back easily. If they were available in a lot of colors, I could see these being really tempting, but I think they were only available in black at my store. And they only came in 0.7 at my store as well. But you get 3 in the pack. Then we have our Marks Ultrafine. So these do indeed have sort of a fine liner tip to them, which is what I was looking for. Sometimes rollerball things won't go over like waxy underdrawing or it won't go over graphite. These are a little more likely to go over graphite. At my store, these were only available in 0.5. I will say that both of these pens, ooh, now it's stuck, okay. Both of these pens felt kind of cheap as I pulled them out of their package. They are cheap, but I don't know if, you know, $1 for 3 is really super cheap. So, not the best build quality, but also not the worst. Then finally, we have the Inc R2. It actually looks like a much nicer, more expensive pen than it is. And it has a little plastic grip here. And it feels like, no, I was gonna say, it feels like you can unscrew it, but I don't think so. And I think hidden inside are little fins to help deliver the ink a little bit more uniformly. The R2 actually feels like a much nicer, more expensive pen than what I paid, but maybe that's because we only got 2 in the pack instead of 3. So today I'm testing our pens on the Payson Real Images drawing pad. You guys can check out a full review by clicking the card here and checking out the description below. I reviewed that product as part of my ongoing Dollar Tree series, which is a week of Dollar Tree art and stationery supply reviews. If that sounds good to you, you should check it out. And I'm just going to go ahead and dive right in. So I'm going to start with just a comfort writing test. I'm going to begin with the Inc pen. Ooh, it does have pretty smooth gel delivery. Nice dark ink. Fairly comfortable to write. Maybe a little bit sluggish. It feels like the ink is a little bit thick. Not particularly prone to smearing. Actually, it kind of feels like slightly thinner ballpoint pen ink, like the old Bic ballpoint pens. My mom still loves those, so maybe she'll love this as well. 0.7 is a little bit larger than I'd like for something like this, because usually I would pick up these sort of ballpoint pens to do quick details. But all in all, it writes well. No ink flow issues, no stuttering, no stopping. The ink feels fairly thick, and it's not particularly prone to smearing. Next, I'm going to take a look at the Inc R2 Rollerball. This is also a 0.7 lead. So it's another Inc product, and I actually should write down the names. A little bit easier to hold, but it feels like maybe it uses the same ink. Good ink flow though. Not noticing any stops and starts. Ink flow can keep up with writing. Does not seem prone to smearing. Now, I know there are artists out there who do use roller balls and ballpoint pens for their art. I do use Muji ones on occasion, but it's not really my first preference. Generally, I prefer felt tips if I'm inking something, or even better, brush tips. I did not find any brush tips, though, at my local Dollar Tree. So this was fairly comfortable to use. I could see this being comfortable in a journaling, in a classroom setting. It has black and blue ink, which is usually what most classrooms, most teachers, most professional settings demand. Finally, we're going to take a look at the Marks Ultrafine. This is the only pen we're looking at today that is smaller than a 0.7. This is a 0.5. And it has a really small felt tip, which, as I just mentioned, is actually my preference. The cap is a little bit difficult to post. It's a bit of a struggle. And I feel like if you left this uncapped, it would dry out pretty quickly. Decent ink flow so far. Seems to keep up. Not prone to smearing. And none of these have torn up the paper or have caused any paper damage right now. Alright, so at least all three pens seem like they're going to be decent writers. So that was the writing test. None of the three pens I tested just now seem to be prone to smearing. All had decent ink flow. There were no ink flow issues, and they were able to keep up with my writing and sketching speed. So next we're going to try testing them by inking them over non-photo blue lead. And for that part of the test, I'm actually going to use the Inc color point that I reviewed in an earlier video. I really happen to like the Inc color point pencils, and I highly recommend you guys check out the review so you can see if they're a good fit for you. Okay, so let's begin with the Inc 0.7, the little rollerball pen one. And this is in a 0.7, so it's going to be kind of a medium point, a medium width. And already it doesn't really want to go over the non-photo blue, which isn't a surprise. I think I mentioned earlier in the video that rollerball pens really don't like going over this sort of stuff. It tends to jam up the ball, it tends to jam up the work. So what we end up getting is like these kind of broken petted lines, even though I'm drawing fairly straight lines. So this is one of the reasons I personally don't really care for using roller balls for inking. I like using them for sketching, and I'll ink over things with them, like I'll ink over like an alcohol marker piece with them. But I really don't like using them to ink the piece itself. So in terms of inking for me personally and how I ink and what materials I use, I think this is going to be a pass for me. I'm going to finish inking this one in time lapse though, just so you guys can see how it looks. So the Inc 0.7 rollerball pen is really more of a writing, maybe even a sketching pen, but it is definitely not an inking pen. Next, we're going to take a look at the Inc rollerball pen. It is a 0.5, no, it's 0.7, so both of our rollerballs are 0.7s. It is a 0.7 rollerball pen. I expect it to have the same issues that we had over here. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. Now, the other rollerball pen we used had a lot of trouble in areas where there was heavy lead buildup. Now, one of the ways you can kind of remedy that is to run an eraser over it, removing kind of everything but a ghosting of the image. My eyesight is pretty terrible, so when I'm picking out pens, I'm really looking for pens where that's not going to be so much of an issue. Which is one of the reasons I really prefer to use felt tip pens. However, strangely enough, despite being manufactured by the same company, I don't seem to be having quite the same issues with this rollerball pen as I had with the smaller stick-like rollerball pen. And I'm not even really sure why that is. They're made by the same company, they're both rollerball pens, and they're both the same size. Maybe it's the build quality. This one's also a little bit more comfortable for me to hold. Now, part of the reason for that is I do have early onset arthritis, so that is kind of a consideration these days. It's not necessarily a consideration when I'm purchasing pens for inking, because I really prefer quality and performance over, I guess I will sacrifice my own health for quality and performance, which is not really great to hear, but I guess that's the truth. But using comfortable pens is nice. Now, I do have a lot of other brush pen and inking pen reviews here on this channel. Ooh, look, okay. So we get a little bit of imprinting. So that means that when we ink over the waxy lead, it doesn't dry very quickly. So that's something you guys are going to want to be aware of. It's a pretty common problem when inking. I usually will ink using kind of a blotter sheet, a piece of tracing paper, just to kind of protect other parts of the image from the area I'm inking at the time. Yeah, this one seems to go over areas of heavy blue lead pretty easily. So I would definitely recommend this one, even though you only get 2 in the package, over our other Inc gel pen. Yeah, this one's actually quite comfortable for sketching. I imagine this would also be more comfortable for taking notes in class, more comfortable for kind of longer term use. Yeah, this one's actually not bad for doodling. I'm gonna have to hold on to this. And I will also caveat, like, none of these are the greatest thing ever, right? They're cheap, inexpensive pens, and they're performing okay for cheap, inexpensive pens. But if you're looking for something a little bit more serious, something designed for artistic use, these are not the pens you're looking for. Finally, we're going to take a look at our one felt tip of the day, the Marks Ultrafine. It's also the only point fine tip pen we have for today. I'm going to tilt this just a little bit so I can get an easier inking angle. And felt tips like this are my preference over rollerball pens. It's a little bit easier for me to build up the lines, and generally they tend to go over these sort of heavy waxy areas a lot better, which is the case here today. It seems to be performing like a champ. When I'm inking, I also prefer to use 8 and 5, with 8 for my heaviest areas of shading or heaviest line weight, 5 for kind of everything else, and then 3 if I really want to do some fine line hatching, say in the nose. Yeah, this thing's inking decently well. I could see this being like a good in-class doodler. Now, I cannot vouch or verify archival qualities of these. I don't know if they're going to fade. I don't know if they're going to turn the paper yellow. We are really just kind of testing handling properties today. Oh, here's where we start coming up against a little bit more resistance. I guess the lead is built up too heavily on the paper. Yeah, now I'm starting to notice that all of the blue lead that I put down for my underdrawing is kind of starting to clog up my pen. So this is another one that's good for writing. Might even be good for sketching, especially if you have a lighter hand than me. But if you have a heavy hand and you put a lot of the blue lead on your paper for your underdrawings, this is definitely one that's going to struggle to kind of write and draw over it, leaving you with kind of sketchy, uncertain lines. And maybe that's the style you like. It is not necessarily the style I was looking for today. So that was the Gel 600, the Marks, oh, this is the Marks, the Marks Ultrafine pens, and this was the R2 roller for just kind of a general inking test. Next, we are going to test how resistant they are to alcohol markers and water. So what I'm going to do for this test is I'm going to apply a an area of ink for both alcohol marker and water, and I will show you guys what I have in mind. So this is the Inc Gel 600. This is alcohol and this is water, and I'm just going to put down a fairly sizable amount of ink on the page. So that's the Inc Gel 600. Next we're going to do the Inc R2. Same thing, and this is just on cheap drawing paper, so this isn't necessarily really a water receptive surface. Next is the Marks Ultrafine. Oh, it wants to be dry. And I feel a little bit ridiculous putting these kind of pens to this sort of test, because clearly they're not designed to suit this purpose. But then you think about places like Daiso, where they sell a variety of art supplies. Some are better than others. They sell art supplies and it's much more accessible, and they do sell brush pens, and they do sell inking pens, and they sell calligraphy pens as well, all for like $2.50 and under. So to me, it's not absolutely ridiculous that a dollar store type place would sell these kinds of things, and it's really just about finding the right materials. So I'm going to let these dry for about 10 minutes, and then we're going to come back and test it with an alcohol marker. And I have an Artist Loft alcohol marker that I'm going to use for the purposes, and we're going to test it with some clean water as well. Okay, so these have had about 10 minutes to dry. We're going to start with the alcohol marker. We're looking for smearing. I'm starting to see some right there, but I went over it a few times. Oh, impressive enough. The Inc R2 is pretty smear resistant, whereas the Inc Gel 600 did have some smearing. The Marks Ultrafine is also pretty smear resistant as well. Impressive. Now we're going to use some water, and I'm going to use one of the Jot watercolor brushes I reviewed way earlier. Wow, okay, so the Inc 600 is actually pretty water resistant, and I'm really saturating it here. Hasn't moved too much. Now we're going to take a look at the R2. This is slightly less water resistant. As I kind of scrub it over the paper, it starts to move and bleed, but I have saturated it pretty heavily. And then finally, the Marks Ultrafine is not water resistant at all. So that's interesting. I think we learned some things today. So just to recap, the Inc Gel 600 is not really alcohol marker proof. There is some smearing, but it's fairly water resistant. The Inc R2 is alcohol proof, but it is not waterproof. And the Marks Ultrafine is alcohol marker proof, but not waterproof as well. So if you're at Dollar Tree and you're looking for a gel pen that writes well, inks well, and is alcohol marker resistant, the Inc R2 is a great pick. It's fairly comfortable in the hand. You receive 2 in a package, and it's also available in blue, which I will show you guys in another video. If you're looking for something that's going to be waterproof, the Inc Gel 600 is fairly water resistant. It is not alcohol marker resistant. It is not a good inker if you're inking over something that has a lot of wax in it. If you're looking for something that has a felt tip point, if that's what's more comfortable for you, the Marks Ultrafine 0.5 is alcohol marker safe. It's decent at inking, but not as nice as the R2, but it is not waterproof. So I think that about wraps it up for our Dollar Tree inking pen review, at least for today. I will follow up in another video with a few colorful options just to kind of brighten up your day. So I hope you guys will keep an eye out for that as well. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys will check out some of my other Dollar Tree reviews here on this channel. If you're looking for more information about inking, I have an advanced inking techniques playlist that not only has brush and nib inking, but brush pen inking and pen recommendations. If you're looking for more pen reviews, head on over to natosoup.blogspot.com and check out my Fude Pen brush pen review series. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully I'll see you guys again really soon. And if you never, ever want to miss a video from me ever again, make sure you click subscribe and hit that bell notification button so it will let you know when I update. Thank you guys. I will see you guys soon. Bye.